It's so pure and it was just.
One, two, three. Shannon, can you hear us?
Smells really good. That looks amazing. I would park next to it because
I would just eat the pickles.
I would eat all
I
of
had a
it.
break.
Learn from Melissa.
I just ate some cantaloupe.
Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, April 17th, 2025 Scarborough Board of Education Workshop. Ray, can we call the attendance, please?
Yes. Mr. Kelleher. Ms. Leon,
She's been excused, I'm sorry. Pardon
Ms.
me.
Lindstrom,
Here.
Ms. Peterson,
Here.
Mr. Rockenstein,
Here.
Mr. Arpinian will be joining late,
Yes, yeah.
Mr. Peony Huff,
Here.
and our two students.
Are not joining us tonight because they have sporting events. Thank you. All right, would everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, agenda item 4.0 is new business. 4.1 is the district social emotional learning update. I'll turn it over to Diane.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're really excited this evening, as you can see. We have our amazing team here sitting directly across from you, apparently. They have worked really hard to put together an overview of what our social emotional curriculum has looked like. As you know, we are rounding out our second year of this as an initiative, and quite frankly, we have a lot to celebrate, and we're really excited about doing that this evening. And so I am going to hand it off.
Hi, Kelsey O'Neill, Curriculum Specialist, and I'm just going to provide a broad overview of the work that we have been doing to really explicitly teach skills and attitudes and knowledge as it relates and enhances the student learning for all of our students. So you can see here a little bit of a breakdown by phase level, the work that we are doing. So program-wise at K2, we have Mind Up. 3 through 8, we are using the evidence-based program ruler, and then we have an established advisory program at 9-12. As it relates to celebrating, I thought it was really important to acknowledge that since we are in year 2 of implementation of a curriculum, that we acknowledge that we have really dedicated members that make up these teams that work at some of these phases as it relates to the work. So there's 11 team members at K2 and 9 and then 10 at 3, 5, and 6, 8. And those team members are really led by the building leaders that are here with us today. And I myself sit on those, and they're made up of staff members and as well as school counselors, social workers, and our instructional coaches. And it really, the work that we do wouldn't really be possible without them collaborating together. So you can see here the student lessons as it relates to each of the phases looks a little different, but one common strand that kind of pulls them all together is the fact that they all are rooted in this CASTLE framework, which is made up of 5 competencies, which is self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. So the Mind Up program at K2 has 4 units, and I just kind of broke those down for you. And then in year 1 of Ruler this year with students, it's really focused on building their emotional vocabulary and their ability to engage with their emotions. And so there's 4 tools, and that's what is being taught and delivered this year. And that looks different at each of the phases, as it really should, because we want to acknowledge the structures and the kind of like the weekly lessons that they have established. So at 3-5, they are taught monthly in a wonderful community day meeting that's held by a whole school assembly. And then they break off and do classroom lessons after that. At 6-8, they, the 4 tools along with some emotional vocabulary lessons are being taught through a Monday crew time. And then at 9-12, they have 71 activities that again aligns to those 5 CASTLE domains, and those are taught weekly in their advisory over the course of the 4 years that they're at high school. And then I think it's just important to note the work that we're also doing for our staff, because it's not only is about the SEL for our students, but also for our staff. So those teams that are represented are also working monthly to support professional development. They meet at K2, they have PLT teams that are engaging in a variety of social emotional learning topics that relate to the Mind Up work. And at 3-5 and 6-8, the Ruler team specifically are presenting on the topics for upcoming lessons and supporting professional development. And similarly at high school, they're working in the faculty meetings, PLTs, and workshops. And there's a lot of ongoing coaching from all levels to support that work.
On the next slide, we wanted to give you a little bit of the data, because the data is part of what informs the way we approach the SEL curriculum. It was used, particularly the Panorama SEL survey around student skills, was used to inform the selection and adoption and implementation of our SEL curriculums, and continues to inform the work we do as far as making our decisions. So there are 6 key areas up there. This is the 2025 winter data. 6 key areas up there that we measure, and they're broken down to you visually in quintiles based on the national percentages. So the darker the green, so that light green, medium green, dark green indicates average, high scores in the national percentile, so at the 40th or above. The 20th to 39th would be like a low average, and then the 0 to 19th would be low and an area to monitor and grow. And we take this survey every winter, students in grades 3 through 12. It's an invitational survey. Parents can choose to opt out, but students may also self-select out. And then for those who answer, we use that data to inform next steps or areas to dig in deeper. So up there, you can see that there are lots of key areas in which we're doing really well, particularly in self-management, emotional regulation, and supportive relationships. The definitions for those are right on the cover page of the packet I handed to you. But that packet also goes a little deeper in giving you the historical data over time. So one of the things I did want to specifically point out is you'll notice that the growth mindset area is red for us this year. And I wanted to share that specifically because there wasn't a change in the survey this year. Panorama had changed the language to in hopes of improving their readability. And what we've discovered is a change in our score. So for example, I think Wentworth is like particularly telling. If you look at growth mindset over the course of the last several years, you'll see that Wentworth was always in the top 80th to 99th percentile. And then this year moved to the 0 to 19th. And I think for us, that really speaks to the change in the language rather than the change in our students. in discussing and breaking down the data as a group, one of the things we talked about is that when they're measuring growth mindset, some of the questions they're asking is like, to what extent, and I can get the exact questions for you, but they're asking questions basically, to what extent do you think you can improve your mindset toward
How hard you try.
how hard you try, yeah, your effort toward classes and what you do in school. And what we're finding is many kids are saying, I can improve that. I always try my best. And we know that that's true of Scarborough students. And so we think that they were actually impacted by that because they, by and large, are generally like working really hard and express that they believe in themselves in terms of working really hard. I can't do better because I do my best. So for us, that resulted in a reflection of how can we help students reframe that thinking when they ask the question? And if you're already doing your best, then say, yeah, I know I can impact that because I believe I can do my best, rather than saying I can't impact that because I'm already at the top. So that's, I wanted to give you that data in conjunction with the rest of the presentation.
Is that feedback you shared with Panorama? Because I'm curious if they might need to reframe their questions, not just reframe how students look at it, but reframe how you're asking something. Not you, Panorama.
Oh, yeah, no, that's certainly something that we can and probably will do. I think, I would imagine they're seeing in their own data
Yes.
a huge change as well if we're seeing that so clearly. But yes, that's a great point. We can certainly do that.
When it comes to the social awareness, it looks like at the high school as well, it's kind of done one of these. Was the wording also adjusted?
The
in
wording
that
on the
area?
entire survey.
The
was
entire
addressed.
one, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so all areas were impacted. Some clearly more strongly than others.
Okay, well, I'll take things over and say hello. Jen Humphrey, principal at Pleasant Hill. As Kelsey alluded to, as she shared the district overview of our approach to social emotional learning. You know, I think about that and how our experience at the K-2 level is really foundational. And as we have these building blocks that get added onto as children move through the phases, what we do at K-2 is so important to build that initial foundation for social emotional learning and really children's readiness to learn. We think about how a regulated child is a child who is ready to learn. And when they enter the classroom in a state of calm and focus, it really can exponentially increase the amount that they're able to learn and grow. So as we were choosing curricula and programmatic approaches to SEL, we really looked at how one could build upon the next, moving through K-12. And our approach at K-2, being the Mind Up program, really does a focus on the parts of the brain and how the brain can help us in regulating emotion. It can help us in terms of understanding what our body does in terms of flight or fight in situations of stress or anxiety, for example, or challenge. But one of the things that really was important to us with our approach was to really have the SEL program help us to build a community of common understanding and of common vocabulary, that students would understand what it means at K-2 to be safe, to be kind, and to be focused in all of our school settings. So we did some work on things as simple as signage to make sure that they're hearing the same messages throughout the school building, whether that's in the cafeteria, in the hallway, on the playground, when they're debriefing a negative interaction with a peer. That type of terminology is brought back. The lessons that they're learning in the classroom are then applied in various settings throughout the school building. And you can see in these pictures, you know, kids are playing safely, kids are interacting in kind and focused ways with one another. And we're really pleased to have Mind Up as a vehicle to help us support that work for kids.
So it's easier, it's better if you can hear from a 6-year-old about what this means for them, because we can tell you until we're blue in the face, but when you hear it from them, you believe that it's really happening. So we have a little video to show.
Hi everyone, I'm Abby Randall and I teach first grade at Blue Point School.
And I'm Jillian Daigle and I teach second grade at Blue Point School. And this is Finch and he's a kindergartner at Blue Point School. And we are going to talk to you about the Mind Up Brain Break.
To start, Jillian, how does a Mind Up Brain Break look in your learning community? How many times a day do you have a brain break?
So in my classroom, we do it at least once a day. And I find that it's really critical to do it after lunch, just for my kiddos. They tend to come back from the lunchroom a little bit stimulated, a little chaotic. So it's a great time to kind of gather on the rug and to do our Mind Up script.
That sounds good. I feel like for me, a brain break happens mostly in the morning. We do it as a settling in practice, either before our morning meeting or after our morning meeting, just as a settling in practice to get ready for our day and our learning.
I love that.
I noticed earlier you said following the script. Do you follow the script every time you have a brain break?
I follow the script at least once during a brain break. If I do more than one brain break, it depends on what my kiddos need. Sometimes I might not do a Mind Up brain break. But if I'm actually doing the Mind Up brain break, then I do follow the script exactly the way it says.
Yeah, I feel like the script helps to keep the kids focused on the Mind Up brain break and they know exactly what's going to happen next in the script.
Yes, they understand what's going on, yeah.
And what do you use during the brain break? Do you use a chime? Is that the only tool you've been using?
Yes, we use our chime, and that is the tool that we've been using in our space. How about you?
Yes, only use the chime during the brain break for Mind Up. If we're ever going to do like a movement break or something different, I'll use other tools, but for the Mind Up brain break, I'm only using the chime. We have some questions for you. Would you like to answer some questions? No? Are you sure?
Do you want to tell us about your brain breaks in your classroom that you've experienced? Why don't you give us a thumbs up or thumbs down? Do you do brain breaks in your space? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy the brain breaks in your space? Nice. Do you feel different after your brain break? Oh, can you use one word to tell us what do you feel that's different after?
I don't know.
You don't know? How do you feel afterwards that's different than before?
I don't know.
No? What was that word you had told me before at home? It makes you feel more... Calm, yeah. And I agree that even as the educator, I feel a lot calmer after a brain break. And after my students seem to be much calmer, I feel like I'm ready to tackle the next step. Which actually, how long are your brain breaks, Abby?
My brain breaks have been pretty short to start. They're getting a little longer, but at the beginning they were probably like 30 seconds with first graders, and then as we got better at them and they became more familiar with the script, I think probably we're closer to like 1 minute now. They also have options to like stand or sit. Some of my students like to lay down, so kind of giving them choice on what feels good for them.
I love those options. So yes, my kiddos can sit crisscross applesauce on the rug. They can lay down with their knees bent and their feet grounded, or they can sit in a chair with their feet grounded. And I think that that really gives them the power to choose and decide how they want to go about their brain break. Do you have some kids that don't want to do it?
Yeah, I've noticed recently there's some kiddos that have a harder time like being able to settle and practice with us. So it's invitational, which I think is so important, and to continue making it an invitation. So it's always an option. If they're not participating, they are just kind of quiet or in their own space. But I have noticed it's definitely a lot harder for some students. So just being mindful that it is an invitation and just like encouraging them to participate when they're ready.
Yeah, and I love that they put that in. They're so clear that it is all just invitational. And I discovered that some of my kiddos, I like how you said they have to be quiet because it's really respectful to those that are doing it. But I noticed that the kids that didn't want to join us are now joining us, which is really powerful. And I see some kids that are actually asking me for the brain break.
Yeah, which is important.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for chatting with us.
Thanks for chatting with us. Anything else you want to say?
No.
Thank you so much for your time.
So that video was done last year, and full disclosure, that is her son at our school, so that we have permission to use this. But I think one of the most powerful things about the Mind Up program at this level is they really do teach kids the parts of the brain and what they're doing in their bodies. And they learn about your amygdala and your hippocampus and your frontal cortex and these really big words, and kids learn them and they throw them around like it's apples and oranges. It's really amazing to hear them just absorb the vocabulary and use it. And, you know, they also reinforce that every grade level redoes the lesson about the brain, parts of the brain and things. So it's not like you expect a 5-year-old to learn it and remember it forever. And I think for years we've done motor breaks, right? Where you get up and you do a go noodle, or you get your wiggles out, or you go walk around the playground, or you take 5 minutes to jump around. And brain breaks are completely different because you're really trying to focus your brain and trying to get your brain ready for learning. So, you know, they really want you to start centering your brain and thinking about what your body's doing and how it's feeling, and is it ready to learn, and what does it need to be ready to learn. And I think that's a very different message and a very different behavior than we do with motor breaks. So it's doesn't replace a motor break. It's enhanced. It's included in addition to a motor break, because everybody needs something different at a different time. So it's really getting kids to be self-reflective and to be aware of their own bodies and what they're needing and doing. And so we're excited that this coming year, the Mind Up curriculum is being broken up into grade level lessons instead of being the same for K-1-2, which it has been for the last 2 years for us. And so that will help differentiate even a little bit more for age appropriateness. But it's always fun during like the mindful eating lesson, and then watching kids in the cafeteria and they close their eyes and they try something, and they're really, you know, practicing it and absorbing it and learning it. And it's very exciting. And we know it just dovetails very nicely with the ruler program and helps give them that foundation for when they get up to Wentworth.
Nice transition.
I think,
Yep.
All right.
do a little warm up and then we'll see a lesson.
So this is gonna be a little settle in activity. This is something that we do with our middle school students. We've done it with our staff last year as well at faculty meetings to get everybody moving into different corners and quadrants. And kind of, it's the first step in really understanding how to regulate your emotion is to recognize your emotion first. So there's a mood meter there. I have copies. I need plenty. If I want to pass a couple around, I can share if you'd like. And if everyone needs a mood meter. It's on the screen as well. But really what's important about looking at this is it's a pretty simple scale. And what you're looking at is your level of pleasantness. If you're high, feeling pleasant, high or low, and energy, high or low. And depending on where you are falling in the quadrants, that's where we can start labeling different emotions, which we'll get to. So first thing in front of you is you're just going to identify where you are on your scale of pleasantness. And I know we're all in the greens and yellows, of course, at this point, but it's always good to, it was tough in the faculty meeting, because at that point, you know, nobody wants to feeling like they're in the red. No one really wants to scoot that way, right? You want to, it's hard in a large group to really express how you are feeling or recognize how you're feeling. But so what we're going to do first is individually in your mind, you're going to take a look at the mood meter and think about where you are on your scale in terms of how pleasant you're feeling and how much energy you have at 6:25 on a Thursday evening. And then from there, think about what color zone you would fall in. So high pleasantness, lower energy, we're looking at the green, high pleasantness, high energy in the yellow, kind of orange. High energy, low pleasantness in the red, and low energy, low pleasantness in the blue quadrant. If you have that in your mind, we'll go on to our next step, which at 4 mood meters posted around the room. So if we're looking at it from this direction, you're going to physically move if you're feeling like you're in the yellow to this corner, red, blue on the door there, or green over here. So you can stand up and physically move over there. And I'll pass out some of the feeling words that are also out there. So you're going to move to your quadrant first. I'm going to help you pass. Here's some of the descriptive feeling words. Oh, we got a lot of middle. Yeah, we got some of the middlers. Okay. I see that. You're the people on a scale of 1 to 4.
No.
If you want to participate, anyone is welcome. So this is, so we got yellow, just like this, yellow, red, blue, green. So towards blue, you might be like kind of. So yeah, just like.
Oh,
in other words, this way.
running an actual meter?
You guys are good here. It's fine. You can just pick the quadrant. You don't have to be so specific on the axis in terms of shades of yellow and blue and green.
Yeah.
So now you've recognized your emotion and where you are. The next step is to kind of understand and label that emotion. So you've picked where you are, your pleasantness and your energy and your word. Is anyone feeling brave and wants to share what adjective or what feeling word they had? Go ahead, John. Yeah.
Oh, I'm ecstatic.
Ecstatic. Whoa, I love it. I love where you are. And that's just because you're full now, right? So you're. Love it.
Couldn't be happier.
Great, wonderful. Anyone else?
I feel at ease.
At ease, I love it. Great.
Mellow.
Mellow, thank you. Content. Comfortable. Focused. We're getting a lot of participation. I love this. This is great. Okay. Sorry, what was the last one? Focus? Thoughtful. Great.
Spent and drained.
Optimistic. What was that one?
Spent and drained.
Spent and drained. There you go. Is that on there? Or we make it up our own.
Oh, it's
no, it's on there. It's on there. All right, fair enough. So, so the next thing we would do is we labeled our emotion, and then we're going to, within your groups, express, sorry, I'm reading off this now, express to someone in your quadrant there, how am I displaying this emotion through my facial expressions, body language, or behavior? So again, if you speak to somebody near you, how am I displaying the emotion that I'm feeling through either facial expressions, body language, or behavior?
I'm shoving it down the plastic smile on my face.
Oh, okay, so I'm internal. That's, sometimes we gotta do that. No, that's, one of my more hard- that's my real friend. Feelings internalized, not externalized. All right, go. Yeah, just keep that. All right. So I hear a lot of good conversation, but for our time purposes, we'll keep going through this. And any one person want to share how they might be showing their emotion through body language, facial expressions, or behavior? Oh, look at that. This is a lot harder than just labeling your emotion, right? Right? That's, go ahead.
I said focus and I said just being actively engaged.
Love it. Perfect. And then the last one, again, we don't necessarily have to go through this and do this, but it would be regulating the emotion and then thinking, is this emotion helpful to me? If so, how can I maintain it? And if not, what strategies can I use to shift that emotion? Meaning, if I'm feeling more in the red and blue, how can I move myself towards the green and yellow and utilize the strategies that we're teaching to our students? And we'll get into that as we move on with other tools. But that's just what I want to get you guys up and talking about it, move around a little bit. And thank you for participating. Thank you for externalizing those.
Gaslight myself.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's awesome. Thank you. Funny though, it's so much easier to label it and to go through the actual questions about
I
emotion.
like that we get
Yeah.
to stand it, but everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm here for that.
All right, who's up? You're up next. Brock.
Sure. You want one of these?
Okay, I'm up next.
Oh, no, my word.
Now that everybody is all regulated, I have a brief overview of a sample lesson from Ruler. And so this is actually the lesson from this month that we've been focused on at Wentworth. I think at the middle school too. Are you guys on Blueprint?
We do Blueprint as well.
Yeah. We're pretty
components
close.
of it,
Yeah,
yes,
we're pretty
yes.
close. So we just participated in this and we're carrying this learning throughout the month and the timing is spot on, let me tell you. So before we launch into the lesson itself, take a look at the picture in the top left of the slide. And does anybody want to volunteer what they see first when you first look at it? John?
Duck bunny.
He's So
Oh,
you
I see them.
Angry duck.
you see an angry duck? Okay.
Angry duck.
Okay.
Oh, it's a happy
That's
duck.
the first thing I
Happy
saw.
duck, an angry duck, a bunny, a
I was
cute
gonna
bunny.
say,
right?
very unimpressed bunny.
An unimpressed
Yeah.
bunny.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so depending on
Can't
what
find
your,
Easter eggs.
you can't find his Easter eggs. Depending on what way you're looking at the picture, you see different things. And really the blueprint is all about recognizing perspective and taking other people's
Not
perspectives.
see both.
You can't not see both.
Can't not see both.
So I feel like it's something, Katie said it's something about like if you're right eye or left eye dominant, so you have no dominant eye, sorry, John.
And,
Wait,
do you
do
remember
that.
which one's which? I'm so curious.
No, I said I wonder.
Oh, you want to?
Oh,
It's a one.
Oh, I thought it was very scientific evidence. Oh.
You were very convincing.
I
There were-
really just believed you. Oh, that's great. Great. Okay, so the lesson about the blueprint, the essential question is, why is it important to consider and listen to another person's perspective, especially when you're in a conflict? And so that is the essential question and the enduring understanding for our students. And this is a really great lesson for adults too, is around actively listening to people with whom you're in conflict and sharing your perspective. And the blueprint is a tool that can help you do that. And so Ray, if you would just click the hyperlink, Wentworth Blueprint, yeah. And so I'm just gonna walk you through briefly, like in speedy fashion, what the lesson looks like after it's been introduced in the whole school assembly. Then students move into their classrooms and everyone is working through this same SEL lesson. And so this slide deck is prepared and a lesson plan is prepared and we unpack it together as a staff prior to delivering the content. And so the Ruler team is really doing so much heavy lifting and preparing this work. So to launch the lesson, we're just going to watch a little 2-minute video of Ralph Breaks the Internet. Yep.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reboot in progress.
Come on, Penelope, wake up. Come on, don't leave me, kid.
Ralph?
Oh, there you are. You okay, kid?
Ralph, I messed up so bad.
No, you didn't. It's okay.
This is all because of me and my glitch. I should have just stayed with you instead of following some stupid dream. I ruined everything.
No, kid, no. Look, I didn't mean for it to happen like this. It was not supposed to be this bad.
You didn't mean for what to happen?
I might have sorta put a harmless little virus in the game.
A virus? You did this?
Well, I wouldn't have done anything if I hadn't heard you tell Shank that you wanted to live in Slaughter Race forever.
So you were spying on me?
Hey, You're not exactly innocent here. You were gonna ditch everybody and abandon Sugar Rush.
Oh, please, I'm one of 16
not too
racers. They'd
into it,
never
we
miss
can
me.
skip
What
over
about
to
me?
the next part.
Why would I
know
ever
you
spend
guys wanna
another
do the exciting
second with
conclusion.
you after?
All right, Ray, we can go. Okay, so after watching that 2.5 minute video with the students, you'd really take some time to talk through what feelings did you notice in the clip, and there are a lot and a huge array, right? They're sad and happy, and they can use their feelings chart and describe that. And then have a discussion about like who's right and who's wrong, and it's meant for there to be some dissonance there, right? That not everybody has the same opinion about who did the right thing. And it's interesting, like if they've seen the movie, if they've not seen the movie, it doesn't really matter. Just from that one little scene, they can really have a very vibrant conversation about this. And then the next slide is also a video that we're not going to watch, but I'm sorry, John.
We're gonna go and watch the other one.
But it's about seeing things from different people's perspectives, and explaining what the word perspective really means. And then after watching the video about perspective taking, there's a turn and talk about if students think that Ralph and Vanellope will stay angry with each other. Great conversation. You can go to the next slide, Ray. And then this is really where the blueprint tool comes in. Like, what if they began to understand each other's perspective, and what could change if they did understand where each person was coming from? And then it's like, ta-da, we have a tool for this, and it's called the blueprint. And I brought some copies of this. We won't work through it as a group, but the blueprint is a really great tool to use to build our skills. It's already turned into a terrific, I'm not sure if anybody's ever spent much time in an elementary school directly following recess, but what you see when you walk down the hallway directly following recess is almost every teacher standing outside their classroom with 2 to 7 students trying to sort through some sort of conflict that has taken place at recess, while the rest of the class is kind of wait. So now we have the blueprint, and what we've transitioned to is, oh my gosh, you were really having some big feelings about that, and I definitely want to hear about it. Why don't you fill out this blueprint tool? And then we're going to chat about it later when we have some time. And it's giving students a chance to kind of share and get it out immediately in the moment so that they can re-regulate and move on. And then afterward, bring students together when emotions are down a little, when there's like the rest of the class is already working on something more independently and they're not waiting for the teacher to start the lesson. It's really shifted things a lot. And so if you look at the tool itself, are there any? No? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So on one side, you're writing down your perspective. And then after doing that, it's difficult for kids and probably adults to shift and say, okay, how did I feel? Oh, they can write that down really, really, really quickly. Like, that's easy. How might the other person have felt? And then being really honest about that is a challenge. And then there's an opportunity to have a conference about this after. That's the next signature tool, is the Blueprint Conference, but we're beginning to use that already. So Ray, if you don't mind just going to the next slide. And so this is, and then we practice with a whole bunch of scenarios within the lesson. Like, oh, you bumped into somebody in the cafeteria, you spill your food everywhere, and you assume that the other person did it on purpose. And so you push them back. Let's use the blueprint, fill out the questions. And so they practice with a few different scenarios in this lesson. Go ahead. And putting things together. So the tool before Blueprint is the meta moment, which in super abbreviated terms is just stop and think when you're having a big feeling before reacting. And so putting together the meta moment and the blueprint, thinking about other people's perspectives, it leads to better conflict resolution, better understanding of perspectives, and ultimately stronger emotional regulation. And so that was the lesson that we just worked through as a school and are applying over the course of this month. And we wanted to give you an example of an SEL lesson.
I love that, it's journaling.
Yeah.
And I just have to say, I mean, when it works, it is so powerful. When you have kids come together and see each other's perspective and have those moments where there's sometimes tears, but they're tears of understanding almost in the office, and they're able to move on with their day. It's amazing. I'm not gonna say it has 100% success rate. I won't say that, but because taking perspective is, like Kelly said, so challenging for adults. So never mind a middle schooler or an elementary school student, but when it does work, it's just, it is such a powerful moment for those students to have that, so.
Do you think as you're doing more lessons, do you think the success rate is increasing? Are you noticing?
I think as we do more with the program over the years, yes, because the middle school, it's tougher. Our 8th graders are gonna get this 1 year, right, an intro, and then move on, and they'll do different lessons in high school. But I'm really excited to see over the years how it builds from K2, 3, 5, middle school, and the consistency with it for that common language, the use of the tools. I would hope that, yes, the success rate would increase. I can't say that this year it's been, because the blueprint was more recently introduced. It's been something that we've used, especially in my office or some of our.
And different,
student
slightly different
advocates.
versions.
Yeah. But
Yeah, because I would hope you would see, and I don't know how long, like I'm trying to, in my mind, figure it out, but I hope you would see a decrease in behavioral issues, right? A decrease in
For sure.
suspensions, a decrease in detentions, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I'm just trying to figure out how long that takes.
As we collect data, we would hope to see those.
Yeah.
patterns, but
And
yeah.
what we're noticing right now already is that at Wentworth anyhow, it's still really teacher directed, right? Like being prompted to, hey, why don't we use a tool? Hey, why don't we talk about feeling? Hey, what about the mood, right? And over time, with more experience and more layers, we're hoping for some of the skills to become more automatic and internalized for students to self-initiate.
This is the middle school, right?
That's-
We would need a-
It's all, okay.
Yeah.
Is there like a point in the curriculum where you review some of the actual meanings of the words?
That's the
themselves?
first lesson.
Okay,
yeah,
I was gonna say some of these
yeah.
desolate,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
you know, especially if we have,
It's a,
NLL learners and things like
Yeah.
that, being able to put yourself on
We
there.
started with more common
Mhm.
words that you'll hear, and then get more in depth with certain words.
There's
yeah,
a
so-
lesson in Ruler about like getting really like granular about how you're describing your emotions. And then there's an entire lesson around that. And so that's, where we are, both phases is all of this foundational work. And so for everybody, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and then next year, it's like K2 mentioned, it will be more differentiated. So our 4th and 5th graders will have already had this year. And so next year they'll have more specific SEL lessons within the Ruler curriculum, where our incoming 3rd graders will basically do what we've just done this year with our 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. So it's going to continue building over the years of implementation, but we're really excited about it, and so proud of the staff for really leaning into this work and staying very committed and keeping it at the center of what we're doing. It's been really, really great.
Yeah, we're excited to also talk to you about what's happening at the high school. So with that, we'll move on.
So the high school journey with SEL, I think it's been an interesting one. I think correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but I think we've sort of been doing SEL. We've sort of been on this initiative for about 6 years, I think-ish. And so, and that's like been through COVID and a whole bunch of things. So the high school, I think, just in terms of the general story, like the high school built a lot of really good momentum really early. We had a really good core group of people that were really excited about the work. And as we were kind of digging into it 6 years ago, we kind of had an opportunity. So a lot of these programs and a lot of sort of good basic SEL approach, I would say, is really defined by 2 things. It's defined by a direct instruction program of some kind. And then it's defined by sort of opportunities for guided practice. Those are sort of the two hallmarks. So as we were kind of looking into that, and I think a lot has changed in the SEL landscape. And again, Katie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot has changed in the last 5 or 6 years in terms of waves and waves of things coming out. But when we sort of started and we were looking into this, we sort of I wouldn't say lucked into an opportunity, but saw an opportunity. The high schools have this advisory structure in its day now, really for about 8 or 9 years. And we were kind of looking for something with it. And so about 5 years ago, we saw an opportunity to say, you know what? We're really looking at SEL. This would be a great fit for our advisory program, you know, in terms of like supporting students' growth in this area. And so we started building a series of lessons. We looked at some curricular materials to help develop learning goals. And again, this was sort of in the early days of CASEL, I would say too. But we had a core group of people that were able to you know, generate and create. And in some ways we use a tool called the Panorama Playbook, which is a feature in Panorama. It's a whole bunch of collection and samplings of all sorts of different lessons and different activities from various curriculums that are related to Panorama. So we come through a lot of that. We used a lot of sort of good teacher ingenuity as well. We basically laid out a framework that we called an activity calendar for advisory. It's got 18 lessons a year that are all aligned to aligned to the 5 domains within CASEL. So the 9th grade year of those 18 lessons, students will do a lot with self-awareness and the skills that are associated with self-awareness, and then they'll do a little bit of self-management. Sophomore year is a little bit more self-management, and then a little bit of social awareness. Junior year is social awareness and relationship skills, and then senior year, which is really good timing because they're making a lot of big decisions, is really all focused about sort of how to make good decisions, putting all that together. So we've been really excited about that. We instituted that 4 years ago, and it's been really cool to see. We're sort of at a point now where it was a 4-year framework implemented 4 years ago. So we're actually getting a team back together. And we were initially launching it. We did a lot of, you know, working with folks in faculty meetings, giving a chance for people to preview and talk and all that kind of stuff to talk about lessons. We collected a ton of data on it, and it was interesting. In year 1, things went okay. And what we got back was a lot of teacher engagement and a lot of teacher conversation. I think some really enjoyed it. Some were like, this lesson didn't work for my kids at all. And so what we got was kind of like this whole wave of staff submitting variations on lessons or new ideas for lessons, things that they sort of took and adjusted to make it work for their kids. We actually ended up with, so I think we had 71 lessons. I think we ended up with like 120 overall, which was a little wild. But so now staff have options. We sort of collected those, written them up, and staff have options based on the kids that are in front of them in their advisory when they meet. And then the other thing that we've done is really sort of looked for ways to embed guided practice opportunities into the classroom. Instructional time is incredibly precious at the high school level. And it's really not possible for us to say, hey, everybody's going to take 15 to 20 minutes out of your lesson, out of your science lesson, let's say, to work on this. And so what we've really tried to do is look for instructional practices that embed both sound instruction, both in the academic sense, and also provide some opportunities for students to practice this. So in terms of what that looks like, I'm going to cut. Ray, I'm wondering if you could skip ahead just to the last slide.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll come back. It's not that the slides are out of order, but so we've tried to do one more, right? So what we've tried to do is try to identify instructional practices in a high school context that really appeal to the whole child and provide both academic opportunities and SEL practice opportunities. So for example, a silent conversation activity, there's a nice description of it up there that's really in a lot of EduSpeak, so I'm not going to break it down for you, but a silent conversation is a simple activity a teacher might spread around, like say political cartoons around a classroom that are all related to a political topic. And the way a silent conversation works, they would put those around the room, they distribute some sticky notes to those students, and they say, I want you to respond to some questions, or I want you to try to interpret those, and you have to do all your thinking on the sticky notes. Leave your comment next to it, you'll do another round, you might go back, and a conversation starts to emerge, but all the thinking happens on paper, it's not spoken. And what happens in an activity like that is it provides really great engagement around higher order thinking. Kids are analyzing, interpreting, arguing, perspective taking, all that kind of stuff. And so it aligns really well with the main guiding principles, which our diploma is tied to. It aligns really well with main learning results, which are all built around higher order thinking. It also provides opportunities, something like that also provides a lot of opportunities for SEL practice. It forces students to, well, first off, when you come out of something like that and you force kids to be quiet for 15 minutes, you get engagement goes through the roof. Because asking a teenager to be quiet for 15 minutes can be a lot of fun sometimes. But right, you encourage, kids are going to come out of that and there's going to be a lot of practice around communication. There's going to be a lot of practice around analyzing perspectives, analyzing situations, depending on what you give them. And so in doing a simple activity like that and high engagement activity like that, it opens up all these opportunities, both on the academic and on the SEL side, for kids to practice, learn, think, engage, from a whole child perspective. If you can go back a slide, Ray. So what we've done with that, we've taken that thinking and we've really tried to build a resource, what we call it an SEL toolbox, but we've really tried to build a resource for staff and align it to both our professional practice model, our Marzano professional practice model, and align it to what we've called the three, or not what we've called, but what Castle calls the 3 signature practices, which is sort of an operationalized version of SEL. Basically, it's a way of saying, if you're doing these 3 things, you're doing SEL in your classroom. When we sort of found that resource, we thought that's something teachers can use because it's really simple. Do some welcoming in your classroom, some welcoming activities in your classroom, have engagement strategies in your classroom, and then have optimistic closures in your classroom, which is a really effective lesson structure for students. So what we basically did is we went through and we tried to identify really good instructional practices that we thought fit those boxes essentially. And we've asked staff to be, over the last 2 years, be working in their professional learning teams to implement some of those strategies. And it's been really, really awesome. These are actually things I see all the time when I go in and do observations, and all the administrators do as well. And it's some of the best stuff. I mean, we've got people that come back to us, they're like, I used a gallery walk the other day and it was incredible. And staff are really starting to see all the opportunities that an instructional practice like that opens up. I think typically, if you ask people 6 years ago what a gallery walk does, they would say, well, it's great for academic engagement. They might have missed the fact that it opens up all these other SEL opportunities as well. Even something like this, which is talking, basically a 4 corners activity, talking about feelings, you're getting the same sort of practice around some SEL skills, even if the focus is something in social studies or a controversial topic in a science class. So we've really tried to look for that. And I think, we've used PD days and PD time for that. We've used PLT times for that. We sometimes model it at faculty meetings where we feel like there's a good opportunity for that. So we've really tried to leverage all of our professional learning to support this type of initiative for staff. And, the good news for us, I think we're at an interesting point now where we're 4 years into this direct instruction program. And so actually just coming up this summer, and even in last fall, we sent a team of people to the Learning in the Brain conference. And we're bringing together a team of teachers, some of whom went to that conference, some of whom might just be interested in advisory, have given a lot of feedback over the years on it, to kind of take a look at what we've got, look at what K-8's been doing, look at our data, and try to sort of look where there's room for improvement and possibly roll out something different, something new, some adjustments with advisory next year. So we've been really excited about the work. It's been a heavy lift, but it's something that we've been engaged with and continue to engage in. So it's been fun.
That's our big little bird walk through what social emotional learning looks like currently.
Thank you so much for putting this together. Are there any questions?
Just comments.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just think it's a wonderful program. My daughter's currently in the primary schools benefiting from all the hard work that they're putting in. And I just love that it's not kind
kind of a one size fits all K-12 program. It really starts with building a foundation and then kind of growing with the child, all the way up to really adult level conversations and things that when they move on to college or their next career path or their next, even as a full-grown adult at a board meeting and doing a Four Corners activity, having those tools and being able to exercise them and coming up, I think a lot of people had to wait till they were adults to gain those skills. And I think that the work you guys are all putting in is really phenomenal. And really giving our students a leg up, not just academically, but also in an SEL manner.
Anything, any questions on here? All right. Did I remember you saying, and Kelly, I might be mistaken, but did you say that these go home to parents too, so that they can continue these at home?
Yeah, so after every community day in that week's newsletter, we link in the parent-family connection, which has like a family blueprint or how to use the mood meter at home. So yes, there are connections for each tool.
It's also a family course that parents can take on the Mind Up website. It's free. And so we're having a Mind Up parent night virtually, Mind Up day in a couple of weeks after vacation. And then it will be recorded so parents can also see it whenever they have an opportunity. But there's a link directly into the Mind Up website where they can go through the Mind Up course as parents. So, because it really does help to have it go back to home and school.
Yeah.
Yeah, the verbiage comes home.
Yeah.
And so,
Common language.
my daughter's brought home like little arts and crafts she
Yeah.
almost did. So I literally brought the wheel out and I was like, there are you done?
Oh, that's really good. All right, if there are no other questions, thank you so much for coming. Thank you everybody for coming. This has been really great. If their agenda item 5.0 is adjournment, so with no objections, we will adjourn at 6:57. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
He's a psychopath. Like, I don't even, I'm not even gonna read his. Um. You know, he talked.
Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, April 7th. Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, April 17th, 2025 Board of Education, Scarborough Board of Education Business Meeting. Ray, can we call the attendance, please?
Yes, Mr. Kelleher,
Here.
Ms. Leong,
Here.
Ms. Lindstrom, Ms. Peterson,
Here.
Mr. Rockenstein. Here. Ms. Tarpinian,
She will be late.
Mr. Peony Huff,
Here.
and ours.
And our students are excused tonight. All right, thank you so much. Agenda item 3.0 is Pledge of Allegiance. Can everyone please join me?
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you so much. Agenda item 4.0 is approval of the March 20th, 2025 business meeting minutes. So if there's no objections, we will approve those. All right. Agenda item 5.0 is adjustments to the agenda. Are there any adjustments this evening? None. Perfect. All right, agenda item 6.0 is the staff spotlight award recognition. So for this, we'll turn it over to Jillian.
All right, actually, Mitchell is going to be doing this one tonight. Yeah.
So for our Spotlight Award for the month of April, or was it last month? This month? Yeah, it's the April Spotlight. Forget which month it is. Katie Lyons was nominated to be our Spotlight Award winner. This is Katie Lyons is a BCBA and behavior specialist at Wentworth and is known for being the glue that holds her team together, not only in their program, but in all their life skills classrooms. And she was nominated by everyone in that office to make sure she's notified or recognized. They've put together a really nice video for Katie on our next slide. Oh, and nominated by Allison Layton with everyone. And here we got a video.
The SLS team nominated you for this award because you are the backbone of our entire program. We couldn't do what we do without you. You're a great friend, coworker, and role model for all of the students that you work with in the school every single day. And we are so happy for you to be receiving this.
Thank you for all you've done for me. One of the biggest things you've helped me with is how to be more social with kids.
Thank you, Miss Lyons, for helping me through everything I've been through, for sticking with me through the tough and the easy of everything that I've been through here in Wentworth. Thank you very much. You deserve this. Thank you.
Hi, Miss Lyons. I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your hard work that you've done here at Wentworth. You truly go above and beyond every single day to make sure our students are able to access their education in the strongest way possible, and that does not go unnoticed. You're always there for students and staff alike when anyone needs you, and I'm so glad we get to recognize you tonight for all of that hard work. So thank you, Miss Lyons.
Thank you, Miss Lyons, for all you've done for me. If you've seen this video, you've been completely and utterly shocked. Well, congratulations, and about this time, it's I'm pretty sure it's going to be like before April break. So, happy vacation too, bye!
Hi, Miss Lyons. Thank you for being such a good friend, coworker, and the glue to our entire program.
Miss Lyons, you're awesome. Thank you, Miss Lyons, for always helping me when I need help.
Thank you, Miss Lyons, for being awesome.
Thank you for helping this community, Miss Lyons.
believe Kelly's going to come up and say a few words for you, Ms. Lyons.
Ms. LaPerriere and I wanted to just share, first of all, thank you so much for supporting having BCBAs in our school. It makes beyond a world of difference, and we happen to have just one of the absolute best. So we wanted to share our top 7 reasons why Katie Lyons is invaluable to our school. So Katie can de-escalate a really big emotional reaction faster than you can microwave your lunch. And she can also wait it out with the patience of a saint, whichever strategy is needed.
Katie listens earnestly to all of the "it wasn't my fault because" moments. There are several, and manages to keep a straight face while sorting out all the facts.
Katie has the magical ability to make clipboards, stickers, and data sheets look cool.
Katie can spot a big reaction brewing from 50 feet away, like a behavior ninja.
Katie can train staff to survive said big reactions without emotional scarring.
Katie knows that "I threw my shoe because I was bored" is actually a teachable moment and will absolutely thank the student for telling her how they were feeling in that moment as well.
And most of all, Katie brings calm to the sometimes chaos. And oftentimes that calm comes with like snacks and prizes and reinforcers, but mostly she just brings the calm. And we are so, so appreciative. Katie, you really deserve it. Thank you.
Katie, would you please come up to be presented with your award?
Are there any comments? See. Yes, Katie, would you like to come up and say anything? You're not required to. I bet if you ask Kate Bolton up here, she would want to hear about how you make charts cool.
I think I'll take this from here. I feel so grateful to work at the Wentworth School, amazing leadership, such wonderful teams in the special education department and in general education. It's one of the best schools that I've ever worked in, and I feel like I'm truly a part of the team here. Everyone is working to collaborate to do what's best for the students, and I just feel very, very grateful to be a part of this district. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Congratulations. All right, agenda item 7.0 is presentation. 7.1 is the Pleasant Hill School presentation. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, both here in the room and at home online. So my name is Jennifer Humphrey, and I'm the proud principal of Pleasant Hill School. And it's my honor to be here with you tonight and share a bit about the great work happening at Pleasant Hill. So as you can see, there's a lot of joy that happens every day at Pleasant Hill. Certainly, a lot of people looked at this center picture and said, "What is happening there?" But children hanging, swinging, playing, enjoying is something that happens every day at school. And so putting it front and center really tells you a little bit about the vibe at Pleasant Hill. So when I first came to Pleasant Hill 3 years ago, this big poster on the left greeted me, and you can read some of the things that the children in Mrs. Roberts' kindergarten class thought were really important for me to know. Things like you will learn lots of things, there are lots of kids to take care of, and don't forget, wear your snow gear in winter and your shorts in the spring. So I'm looking forward to spring coming so I can rock the, I don't know, some kind of clam diggers or something. It'll be epic. But Pleasant Hill School has 180 students currently across 11 classrooms. And one of our proudest pieces of all that we do at Pleasant Hill is our staff. We have 38 staff that are full-time at Pleasant Hill. We have 8 shared staff that we share across both the primary and also some staff across other buildings in the district. But the work that they do is really inspiring to me every day. They work together so tirelessly to really support students. They're constantly putting their heads together, thinking outside of the box, collaborating with one another, and looking for resources in places where we didn't know we had them, just so that they can make sure kids are getting what they need. Up in the upper right corner is the phrase I hear probably most often every week at Pleasant Hill, which is, everyone gets what they need. And I'm being truthful when I tell you that when you walk in and out of classrooms, you will hear adults saying that to children. You'll also hear that students say that to one another as well. And that's one of our proudest pieces. You can see all the specialty programs we have down the center, and certainly some data that tells you that the investments we've made in our student support teams, our academic support, our early intervention teacher, which thank you, we added last year, has been an absolute game changer for our programming and the support we're able to provide for students. So nearly 14% of our students are getting academic support. They've been through the multi-tiered system of support process, which is our weekly think tank where staff come together and strategize. They hear where we are with students, what issues they're facing, and you've got educators around that table with different perspectives and ideas, and it's really fun to see the ideas that emerge every week. Early intervention, that one teacher, Sarah Chadbourne over at Pleasant Hill, has been an invaluable addition to our staff. She services nearly 18% of students in various settings, in and out of classrooms, one-on-one pullouts, support in so many different ways. So thank you to the board for your support in adding that position for our K-2 schools. All right. We can move on to the next slide. So this is a little bit of a chronological look. We started our school year and kind of ended our summer with a real push. And our facilities team hired some wonderful folks who came in and refurbished and did some necessary improvements. We had some rotten siding, we had some paint that really needed a refresh, and our school got a nice facelift. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, really proud piece is that we had the Heisey family come and donate their time, energy, and effort to sand and stain our picnic tables that had been donated during COVID by the PTA. So we got a real facelift this fall, and it felt great. So we also kicked off in the fall, obviously with some goal setting. And the first was around our multi-tiered systems of support. We've been doing a lot of work with this over the last couple of years. We've been really looking at entrance and exit criteria. How do students qualify for this support? And when they don't meet that threshold of qualification, what do we do about it then? Because they still are exhibiting some needs. So it's allowed us to really work through the process, putting our brains together about what's best for students, and making sure that every learner has equitable access to those supports. So a lot of work has been done. We've been diving into data together in some wider and broader teams and putting some protocols in place to really look at that data so no child is falling between the cracks and everyone is considered when it comes time to look at interventions that we might need to put in place to meet students' needs. The second goal, as you heard earlier in tonight's workshop, was around social emotional learning and really the vibe we create at Pleasant Hill to really be a welcoming and inclusive school environment for all. So we can move on to the next slide. In the fall this year, we took a page from the Sandy Hook Promise, and we utilized their program called Start with Hello. And it's all about making sure every learner, every student feels really included. You know, some of you may be familiar with buddy benches on the playground, for example, where when you don't have anyone to play with, you sit on the bench and someone comes by and scoops you right up. But we really did some learning through morning announcements and in-class discussions about starting with hello, make sure that everyone feels included. And that sign, everyone's different, everyone belongs, is hanging in our lobby. And it's something that we allude to when we have conversations around peer conflict or differences. And it's been really helpful. You can see once a month we have our birthday lunches in the cafeteria, which is a great time for students who don't normally sit together to do so and to invite a friend maybe from another classroom. So it's a bit of an opportunity to mix things up socially, and kids really enjoy that. So you heard a lot about social and emotional learning this evening. Mrs. Lovejoy mentioned at the tail end of our workshop tonight how we're hosting a Mind Up for Families information session. So Kelly Mullen-Martin from Blue Point and Ann Lovejoy from Eight Corners and myself will join together on May 7th at noontime. And we've got a Zoom link in all of our newsletters. So we invite families to join with us and learn more themselves about our SEL programming in the schools. They also have the opportunity to take a parent course, which is free and available online. So that's in our newsletters as well. We really have Mrs. Zeman, our K through 2 shared counselor, to thank for her Safer, Smarter Kids lessons. She actually teams with our phys ed teachers at the 3 buildings to kick off these lessons. And these are lessons that help us comply with our state mandated lessons on sexual abuse prevention for children. And the lessons are really, as you can see by the graphic there, they're very kid-friendly. They really allow students to hear some important safety messaging in ways that speak to them as young learners. Mrs. Blakemore and the amazing library team coordinated a visit for Angie J. Pizza, an author illustrator, to come to our schools this past month. And it's been wonderful to see the connections he brings to social emotional learning. The slide he's pointing to there is all about emotions and getting in touch with, signals your body gives you about how you're feeling and how you can regulate. So at Pleasant Hill, these pictures in the lower right are from today. I had to change my lovely outfit today. I was wearing my Gronk jersey all day today at Pleasant Hill. It was your favorite sport or activity dress-up day, which was the result of some voting that the children did in the buckets above. If you're caught being safe, kind, or focused at Pleasant Hill, you get your photo taken, you get a phone call from the principal home to your parent to brag about you a little bit. Your picture goes up on the wall in the hallway, and you get a little red ticket, and you get to vote what the next fun whole school event will be. So today was the culmination of that and lots of fun at school. So I think Mr. Theriault mentioned earlier during our presentation, he was alluding to some results from the Panorama survey. We talked a lot about that as a group. And at Pleasant Hill, these are our results from this winter survey, which is a teacher perception survey at K through 2. So teachers are looking at how they perceive their students meeting these CASEL competencies. And I'm really proud to say that we linked self-management to our school goals this year, really helping students learn how to regulate their emotions, but really to manage them in moments of challenge. And we were up 5% in that area this year, so we're really proud of that work. Digital literacy is a big part of what we do at school. We do limit the time kids spend on computers because we find the peer interaction and adult interaction and the work that they do that's not digital is really important, and yet they need to learn skills of safety online. And we're proud that this year we were honored with this 2024-25 recognition from Common Sense Media for the work that we do to train children in this way. All right, so here's the heart of what we do. It's the effective teaching and learning that happens in classroom each day. And I can't be more proud of the work that happens in each and every room at Pleasant Hill. Teachers are engaging kids. They are getting them excited about learning. They're making learning hands-on. They're finding ways to bring in manipulatives and peer interaction and discussion. That's really rich. And you can see kids being really focused here in different settings. You can see in school assemblies, we're giving children an opportunity to practice their public speaking skills early before they get up to Wentworth and have to get into book projects and out loud presentations and things like that. So they dip the toe in the water of things like morning announcements, and we really try and foster that confidence and competence in all of our students. So this year we've seen some great growth already. You see fall and winter data for reading here. The green that is striped and the lighter lime green represent students that are early on grade level or above grade level. And the yellow bands are often thought of as where students are ready to learn grade level material. They're not quite there yet, but they're ready to learn. And you can see from fall to winter, the growth that we've had and the shift that we've had in students moving from one band to another and really reducing those students who are struggling the most. And every time I look at data and I compare it to the list of students receiving supports, it's really gratifying because we know we have not missed anyone, and that feels really great. So the next slide will show similarly in math, the growth that we've realized this year, and we're just about to dig in the start of next month with some assessments again. And I want to just say this iReady data, while it's great to see, it's one point of data. And we see a lot of other pieces of data through classroom observation, through one-on-one assessments teachers do. So we're seeing that growth in many ways, not just here on the iReady. So one of the nice pieces we have during the year once annually is our Hour of Code activities. And our instructional coaches are invaluable in really bringing this programming to us. We have staff come over from Wentworth. We have student helpers come over from the high school to help teach the younger students. They get to dig into coding and programming a bot to follow the path that they intend for it. So it's really exciting and an activity that is well-rounded. We include some SEL components into the day, some literacy components as well, and it's a nice opportunity for students to dip their toe into the water of coding, but they want for more. And during the year, we keep filtering it in. So that's a lot of fun as well. So spring has finally sprung. Did anyone have any doubts? I think we all had some serious doubts, but things are coming up at Pleasant Hill. We have just received, thanks to Jen Pinkham and Alex Spark from Pleasant Hill, our instructional coach and phys ed teacher, who applied and received an SEF grant this year to bolster our garden programming at Pleasant Hill. We've got a new rain barrel, we've got a new composting bin, we've got new gardening tools. And I was remarking that new gardening tools are kind of like that fresh first day of school sharpened pencil. It's so much fun to dig in the dirt with the kids, and it's brought a lot of joy in the last week. So lots of community connections happen throughout the school year at Pleasant Hill. I feel fortunate. I got to be last presenting for the schools this school year, which is actually a benefit because so much has happened from the beginning of the fall until now. But we had our first graders go over to the Maine Veterans Home to do some patriotic songs and some planting with them and really lifted their spirits. We did some donations to the food pantry, which included some counting and graphing and tallying for the students as they collected items. We had the opportunity to connect with Old Orchard Beach to partner with them to bring the PSO's Kinder concert to the high school, and the 3 K-2 schools got to benefit from that experience and be introduced to some new instruments. And for the second year running, we participated in card making for our senior citizens dinner, which brought so many smiles, and we actually received some cards back from our seniors this year, and it was really sweet. And so we're going to be delivering those to that particular classroom on Monday. They actually wrote back on the cards to some of the students, so that's going to be really sweet the Monday after break. We also connect with our public safety department here for some fire safety awareness in the fall, but also spring trips to go over to our fabulous building over there and check out the facility and learn about all that they do to protect our community. And we thank Broadway Gardens for so many donations of plants and herbs that have supported our work this spring, and they hosted the kindergartners last with a field trip, so that was a lot of fun. A big point of pride this year is a new partnership that we're developing at Pleasant Hill with the Scarborough Land Trust. So we've been working with Andrew Mackey and most recently Jen Curtis, who you see pictured here. She's a new hire or relatively new hire over at the Land Trust, but she's a former teacher and she's their administrative assistant. So we found that out really quickly and we put her to work. And so she has been partnering with us with such energy, enthusiasm, and skill to develop a kindergarten field trip experience, which we're looking forward to on May 23rd. We're going to go over there and do some real curricular connections and really teach the children about the lands that they're growing up upon. So we're really excited about that partnership and we hope that it grows and develops over the years. Jen also just came in this week to do Earth Day class visits. So that was a nice way to partner with her and get to know her a little bit. Maine agriculture in the classroom was this week as well. We had quite the busy week at Pleasant Hill. This entire classroom smelled like every herb known to humankind. Mrs. Pinkham kind of helped us release the oils in all the herbs and it filled the room and the children learned all kinds of things about gardening. So we thank Jen and also Broadway Gardens for their partnership with that programming. Junior Achievement is an annual connection we make with volunteers from the community. This year, we partnered with volunteers from Unum to have second grade programming around roles and responsibilities of being a great citizen. And students voted and they thought about community planning and jobs they might like to hold later in life and businesses they might like to engage with. So that's great work that we do with Junior Achievement, and we're looking forward to continuing that partnership. And our PTA, we couldn't do it without our PTA. They're so good to us and they organize so many great programs. Our Walk, Bike, and Roll to School this fall had a great turnout. They've supported us with bringing in guest speakers like Chewonki and the Tinker Bus, field trips to the Maine Children's Theater, Maddie's Theater, and also Maine Wildlife Park. So many things that they help us with, and we're so pleased to have their support. Race to the Point was this weekend. There were lots of Pleasant Hill former and current students there, and it was all smiles. They were all wet smiles because this is the third year running. That event has been wet, but super fun and super engaging and a nice way to bring the community together. So it was a wonderful event. And last but not least, we couldn't do the work that we do without our partnerships with parents and guardians and grandparents and aunts and uncles. And it's just so great to have them come and join us. You know, we had a dearth of volunteers during the pandemic, and bringing them back into our schools, inviting them in for community meetings. Last week, we had a clay art gallery. They're in and out of our building all the time, and we love having their partnership, because without that partnership, the growth that we see in children would not be possible. It's the work that we do together. So that's how I'll end my presentation, with a big thank you to our whole school community for all the support.
Thank you so much, Jen. Are there any questions or comments? I love seeing all the photos. Thank you for including those. That was
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. Agenda item 8.0 is general public comment. Is there anyone wishing to make public comment this evening? Is there anybody online? Hey, welcome. You just want to introduce yourself really quick?
Yes, I'm Larry Kane, and I had no intention of speaking tonight, but after that presentation, that was amazing. I think that I'm on the School Building Advisory Committee and have been for quite a while, and I think we get lost sometimes in the building project and construction and sites, and you kind of forget who the customer is. And that was really, really a fabulous job. And I think it would be wonderful if somehow that message and the connection of the kids and all could get to a broader audience. So thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Did you say no one on them? Okay, I'm going to call an audible and I'm gonna do my own public comment from right here. So I'll start my own timer, but I can see it from over there. So I've been gone, I've been out of town unexpectedly for quite a while and I missed the senior dinner, but you also know I volunteer on Mondays with my senior friends. And so I got to go back on Monday and I think there was 30 people there and I think everybody but maybe one attended the senior dinner. And so I got there a little early knowing I hadn't seen them for a while and we spent 30 minutes talking about how wonderful the senior dinner was. So it was everything from how amazing the food was. It was I heard about how Peter somehow took rigatoni and made it into like a lasagna and that was really special. And obviously the strawberry shortcake was homemade because he made the biscuits just like the women did. I heard all about the food and I heard all about the kids and I heard all about the administrators that were there. So it was missing everything I missed. I think that was the one I was the saddest about. And so to hear all the good compliments, thank you. So thank you for all your hard work. And they couldn't have done it without you, John. Know that it is very appreciated across the district. They loved it, thought it was wonderful. Can't wait for next year. So thank you. All right. Where are we? Agenda item 9.0 is a public hearing on the FY26 school budget. Kate, welcome.
Thank you. I know you haven't heard enough about the budget yet, but we thought we'd give a little recap. Sorry, I'm kind of allergenic tonight. No, that's not the right word. That's when the dog doesn't make you allergic, but I'm doing pollen time. So we have a public hearing tonight. We often don't get a huge crowd for a public hearing. I think my crowd is like just my crowd. So if y'all want to speak, we'd love to hear from you. But we do have the requirement of having a public hearing for the budget every year. The town council also has a public hearing, and theirs was yesterday evening. And that happens about halfway through the process between first reading and second reading. So what we have here is just a couple of slides that will bring the public up to date on where we've been and where we're going and next steps. And then Shannon will give an opportunity to speak and we'll keep going. So this slide tells us that we've had the first reading. The school board passed the budget in first reading. The town council passed the budget in first reading on April 2nd. And we're now in the process of refining and updating the budget, both town and school leaders, as we move towards the board second reading, and the town council will be voting in second reading a week later. Excuse me. This is my pitch for everybody who has spare time on their hands and wants something exciting to read. I know I'm speaking to a big crowd out there who would like to click this live link as you're looking at our slide deck and go to the school board's budget page, which is full of really exciting information about what our budget proposal is this year. And I think the cool thing, of course, I think everything's cool about the budget because I'm a complete geek, but the cool thing is that there's something here for everybody. Like if you want to know, you want to read the superintendent's introduction and executive summary, it's about 20 pages, there's some charts, and you can be in and out and done and understand everything that you really need to know about the budget. If you want to dig deeper, there's tons of pages about each individual school and department. There's line item budget stuff. There's an appendix that has all kinds of resources in it. So spend your time with us. This is a capsule summary of the education budget as it stood at first reading. There are 3 operating budgets in the education budget, and the capital budget is separate. These are the 3 budgets that are out there right now, the increases that we have proposed. And in the middle line there, it tells you the gross increase, which is the overall increase in expenditures from last year to this year. And at the bottom, the tax request takes out non-tax revenues and subtracts that from the total and tells you what we actually need to raise in taxes from the town. Excuse me. This 6.85% increase does not represent the increase in the community's tax rate or the community's taxes. What it is a factor that goes into the overall municipal budget and is folded into that, and then taking into account the valuation with this first reading proposal and the municipal budget, we were at about a 3.8% increase in the tax rate. Items in motion is the label that we give to, oh, look, it's motion. Oh my goodness. Aren't we just the best? I promise I never put transitions in slides. I don't know how they happen. It's magic. It's magic. Well, yeah, obviously I did at one point, like 15 years ago, and they're still there. Items in motion are items in the budget which change between first and second reading. Some of those changes are changes that we make. Most of those changes this year are changes that happened to us. When we went out for first reading, we did not have information from Anthem or Delta or MEMIC on our increases or decreases in budgeting, budgeted amounts for next year. So Anthem's rate increase is unfortunately quite a bit higher than what we budgeted for, and it's going to add money that we're going to need to add into the budget for second reading. Delta Dental and Work Comp have both gone down compared to what we originally budgeted. So that's nice. And then we have an item for special services. We have started with 9 ed tech positions and a half speech therapist position in our budget proposal. And since the time of first reading, we've had students move into the district who are already placed and already have IEPs, and we need to increase, add another 2 ed tech positions and an additional outside school tuition slot. So that adds a little bit to our ask as well. The last bullet is around pre-K, the pre-K partnership program that we are engaged in right now with Shooting Stars here in Scarborough. And I think this group has heard quite a few times already since first reading that the grant funding that we expected to receive from the Department of Ed to carry us through the whole of next school year has now been cut back. We're not going to have access to grant funds after December of next year. So starting in January, we were trying to figure out, well, how are we going to keep that program going? We're in the first year, the pilot year this year. It's going beautifully. And none of us wanted to let that go and just say, oh, well, never mind, we don't have money. So the first thought was to put $70,000, which is the difference in grant funding that we won't be receiving, into the operating budget and just say, okay, we're increasing our budget. But in the meantime, we've come up with a new plan, which leans on state statute and allows school districts to create reserve funds for special purposes. This is a perfect opportunity for us because we have money in the FY25 budget for the program. The FY25 budget was created when the partnership was going to be kicked off, and we didn't know that we were going to receive grant funds. So the money is in the budget for this year and not being spent. Under the statute that allows the creation of reserve funds, we're allowed to take that money, the board is allowed to authorize that money going into a special fund to be used for that purpose in next year's budget. And so this next slide, I think, takes you through that specific plan. We have an action item that says that the board will establish a pre-K program reserve fund under the statute. The action item is for this evening for the board to actually create the fund. And what that will do is allow us to say, yes, we have a plan for next year's budget. We can put the $70,000 in on the expenditure side, and we can say, we have an offsetting $70,000 of revenue that we can use from this reserve fund so that there won't be any impact to the taxpayers. And that was really important to us because when we went out with this program, we said, yay, it's grant funded, there's no tax dollars being used. And we didn't really want to go back and say, oh, we're really sorry, but we're going to dig into your pockets, Town Scarborough, for that. So the cool thing about this as well is that we have about $150,000 right now. And our estimate is it's going to take about $70,000 to support next year's program, which means that there would be some money left over as well to kick us off into FY27 when we would be on our own anyway, because the grant funds were not available for more than 2 years, even when they were available for 2 years. I think this one is all about, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to go home and take transitions out. I'm making a note. I'm going to stay up late tonight and take those out. Or maybe I won't, but maybe I'll just say I'm going to. This is the next things on our calendar. School board public hearing is right now. Our finance committee will be meeting the Monday after April break to kind of see where we are with the items in motion, take some advice and recommendations from school leaders who have been compiling all of these things, come up with a target and a recommendation for the second reading vote, which is later that week on May 1st. The school board votes at second reading and passes the school portion of the budget on to the town. They vote the following week, and then the school portion of the budget goes to referendum on June 10th. And I did put a link in here because early voting will be available, just like in any other election in Scarborough. And so folks can get ballots and information through that link to the town website. And another pitch for a little light reading for everybody. Not only is there a school department budget page, but if you exhaust the exciting resources there, you can also check out the Town of Scarborough budget portal, which has even more exciting things to read. I think that's what I have.
All right, thank you so much for the update, Kate. Are there any questions for Kate? Is there anyone wishing to make public comment this evening?
I just wanted to comment that we, when the finance team met and we heard about the pre-K funding, it seemed like such a great thing to have arisen. Just finding out that, wow, we actually happen to have this money, and thanks to Kate for looking into all of that to find these details for us. So that was definitely a hard task that we had asked you guys to do, because we didn't want to lose this partnership, and we really valued having this program in our previous conversation. So,
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of heartburn in our last board meeting talking about this, right? So it's wonderful that it looks like we'll have a solution for that.
I also want to say it connects so strongly onto the public's strong desire to have the pre-K program. Without Kate's hard work, we don't really know where we would be for next year. And I think after our board discussion about it, we all seem interested in expanding all of this in the public's interest. So huge hats off to Kate for, being a wonderful, I think I've heard the term financial steward. And I like that use. So thank you for all your hard work that you've put into this.
Maybe we can find you some steward stickers or some ninja stickers. I'm gonna get on it.
I think I'm going to need a clipboard and some stickers.
Okay, we can make that happen.
Oh, well, I always have some. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
So I motion to move approval to establish a new pre-K program reserve.
Oh, hold on one second.
wait.
Hang on. I'm sorry. Let me call it first. so nobody, we're good on, I think we're good on public comment for the budget. Okay, so we're gonna go on to 10.0 as new business. 10.1 is a pre-K discussion. You're up now.
Now I can, okay. Motion to move approval to establish a new pre-K program reserve fund in accordance with Title 20A MRSA 1491, and to transfer into this fund at year-end the balance of local funds budgeted in FY25 for this purpose, currently $156,525, which have not been expended due to the availability of a DOE grant. It is the board's intent that this fund shall be used as a revenue source to support program costs in FY26 that are not covered by the remaining allocation of the DOE grant, currently estimated at $70,000.
All right, so we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Can you remind us, I know the money was in our budget. We had it budgeted because we didn't know that we were going to get the grant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Originally.
originally, when we put together the FY25 budget, we actually approved, and the town council approved, and the voters approved that $150,000 to cover the cost of the program in that first pilot year. But we also knew that we had applied for the grant, and we were hoping that the grant would come through, but we didn't get verification that we were going to receive that money until after the budget had already been passed, which meant that it's just kind of sitting there right now. And we have used a little bit of it for some startup costs that weren't covered in the grant, some supplies and equipment, mostly around the meal program, but most of it is still sitting right there. And that's why we were able to say, oh, look, there's money that would ordinarily have just gone into our surplus, but could be pulled back and put into a special use in the same way that we put surplus into the capital reserve fund at the end of the year. So there will be a motion at the end of the year to transfer that money formally, and we'll have an actual dollar amount. But this action sets up the option to do that.
And the, because there's more in there than what we'll need for this year, then I remember you saying that we would then have a carryover for the next year when we would be on our own.
Exactly, yeah. So if you assume that the program would fall 100% onto our community in FY27, then we have some seed money, if you will, to start funding that from the reserve. So only half of the cost, more or less, would be passed on to the community. So it kind of allows us to step up the investment that the community is making from year to year.
You know, I love this, the reserve funds. I'm just trying to think, I wonder if we could figure a way to continue adding to it so that if we are able to grow our program, that it's.
Once you have a reserve fund, you have a reserve fund. Yeah.
How does it work to like have it grow?
Move money into it. Well, this particular instance is new to me because I've never done one that's for an operating cost. I've always, I've known about them for capital budget, and they're more common for that. But it would really be the same process. It would be, we have funds left over, we're going to allocate them to this purpose. I think in this year, it's a no-brainer because, again, the voters already approved it for that program specifically. But if the board were to say we want to take some of our year-end surplus and apply it to a reserve fund specifically for pre-K, we could do that at the end of another year and the year after that as well.
And just so that we, are thinking about it from all points of view, if this were to be turned down, we've already covered a lot of what sounds like our startup fees are. If the program went away and then restarted, would we accrue more startup fees all over again?
Are you saying, like, would we have new operating costs if we didn't have our existing partnership carrying on?
So at the pre-K workshop and a few times tonight, I've kind of heard of startup fees be, first year is always more expensive, things like that. So if this were to, be voted down today or anything like, I'm just trying to understand all aspects of the decision that we're making. If there was a motion to launch a pre-K program in 2027, would we accrue all those startup fees again?
I think it would depend on who your partner was, because the investments that we've made with Shooting Stars have set them up pretty well to move forward. The big investments that were for startup were a couple pieces of school nutrition equipment that we didn't put into the grant. And then there's a curriculum component that is in the grant and some playground equipment that's in the grant. Those still exist. Those are, available resources for that program in particular. I think the startup costs that you might accrue would be maybe expanding the partnership or, having a partnership with another organization.
Right, and I also think, in relationship to the pre-K workshop that we just had, expanding the program, right? Whether that be with another community partner or if there was an opportunity for us to have some space become available within some of our existing buildings. To grow the program would require some startup costs because, we don't necessarily have equipment that would be suitable for pre-K, or
Mhm.
we would have
Yeah.
to purchase more curriculum or that sort of thing. So there was,
Yeah, yeah.
regardless of whether this were put on the shelf or something that we just said, hey, this is really amazing and we want to grow it. Anytime, even at K-12, when we add a classroom, there are costs to doing that, right? If we don't have the materials and curriculum at the ready.
Sure, yeah. So I think if you were just going to start and stop at the same order of magnitude, then probably not. If you were going to expand, then yeah, sure, you'd need more little chairs and little desks and that kind of stuff. Really cute. They're so cute.
How many, some of that money is coming back from the state already, right? Like, for like our general education reimbursement.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that's a really good question, Jillian. We do receive funding through our general purpose aid, the overall funding state subsidy that we get for the K-12 district as a whole. There's a pre-K element to that. Because of the way the funding formula works, they figure out how much they think the pre-K program should cost, and that is actually about the $150,000. But because we only get about 12% of our budget covered by GPA, we really get about 20 grand. So yes, we will get money. As long as those kids are enrolled in part of this partnership, we will get money from the state. It just won't be enough to really move the needle and keep the program alive all by itself.
And so the 70,000 is in addition to that little bit of money that we get back in general.
Right.
All right, thank you. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you.
I think it's just a sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think just as a general comment, this feels like a no-brainer. The taxpayers have already approved it. We have the location. There's a strong public interest for it. So I would just urge us to support this. It just feels like we're supporting something we've been asked to and authorized to do. So.
And just to keep the program going with this partnership that we have with Shooting Stars, I would hate to risk losing that partnership, and if that were to end and then to reestablish that again later, I think is a lot more difficult when we want to keep it running and keep it ongoing.
Especially when we've heard such wonderful things coming out of that program. It's not a program that hasn't done well. It's doing well. It's providing a wonderful service to town members. I'm already hearing people excitedly signing up or wanting to sign up for the lottery and all those things. So I think the level of enthusiasm and success that the program has reaped is a really great spot for us to support.
I agree. I mean, the staff hours that your staff put in alone, like I saw that. And so I mean, it's been such a huge investment. I think it makes sense to continue on as well. It's a relatively small amount of money for what has been a good benefit for our program.
Yeah, I think it's great too that Ruth has been patient with us while this has kind of played itself out, has been really great as well. So You know, I think I mentioned in the workshop, I'm interested in growing the program slowly over time but I know it's difficult for us because we don't have the space right now and we don't really, there's not a lot of community partners we have that we can partner with. So I really appreciate her patience with us while this has worked itself out. But I also wonder if there's not an opportunity with just a change in the community services department leadership, if there might not be an opportunity there for our future. And it's not a today conversation, just something that's been in the back of my mind. Like perhaps we have an opportunity there later on as well. All right. Are there any other discussion? Okay, Ray, I think we'll call the vote.
Yes. Ms. Leon,
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Rockenstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tarpinian. She did unmute herself.
Uh-oh. Oh. Frayla, did you answer? You might, yeah, can you raise your hand if you're?
Yes.
If you're, yeah, yes, perfect, thank you.
Like twice.
She's like, yes.
Ms. Trapani Huff,
Yes.
All right, that shows is unanimous. Thank you, Cheryl. All right, agenda item 10.2 is the Title IX policies. So I think what I'm gonna do is bundle these because the discussion is all as one. So do I have a motion to approve 10.2.1 to reinstate policy AC, non-discrimination, equal opportunity and affirmative action? 10.2.2 reinstate policy ACAA, harassment and sexual harassment of students. 10.23 reinstate policy ACAAR, student discrimination, harassment, and Title IX, sexual harassment complaint procedures. 10.2.4 reinstate policy ACAB, harassment and sexual harassment of school employees. And 10.2.5 reinstate policy ACABR, employee discrimination, harassment, and Title IX, sexual harassment complaint procedures.
so moved.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so I will tee this up for Frayla because we knew she was attending remotely. So the reason this is coming to you the way it did is as a reminder is that well, first off, the policy committee had spent some time rewriting these policies in accordance with an executive order from our previous president that has been struck down in court. And so we changed the policies, the executive order has been struck down. And so we needed to go back and reinstate to the previous policy with a couple of adjustments. The adjustments that you'll see are that Ray is now with us. And so our, some of our names in the titles, those mandated, the people that are reported to had to change, but also Maine had adopted some new policies as it relates to hair texture, was one, for example. So that's included in the policy. And then Maine's Human Rights Act requires us to not discriminate against gender identity. So that was included. What happened when we were going back and looking at the history of the original policies and then working through the policies, what we ended up discovering is that the board actually never had a first and second reading of the policies. So in discovering that, what we did was we took it back and brought it back to the policy committee. The policy committee reviewed it, and then now we are back in front of you today. So that is the history. So it'll go back, to the old policies with those minor changes.
Yeah, the other piece of information that I would just add as a point of information for folks is that the reason for this change was the ruling of a specific federal court case, Tennessee versus Cardona, that happened on January 9th. I think there may be some misconceptions that this is related to some executive orders that have been coming out. And to be really clear, this is related to a specific federal court case.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And also you ended up linking that in the policy agenda, right?
Correct.
So that if anybody in the public is interested in reading more about the case, or anybody here is interested in reading more about the case, it's linked in the policy agenda from Tuesday. All right, is there any discussion? All right, can we call the vote?
Yes. Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Ms. Leon,
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Rockenstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tarpinian,
She's raising her hand.
raising her hand, affirmative, thank you. Mr. Peony Huff,
Yes.
Thank you. That shows it's unanimous. Thank you, Cheryl. All right, agenda 10.3, our appointments. 10.3.1 is the Eight Corners Principal.
Great, thank you very much. This evening, I'm really excited to be bringing forward to you a nomination to fill an upcoming retirement. As all of you know, Ms. Lovejoy is going to be retiring at the end of June this year after a very long and strong commitment to the Eight Corners community. I didn't mean long, like, boy, it's been a long time, but you have been principal for a number of years there. And so again, as you can imagine, this is no small set of shoes to fill for Ms. Lovejoy. After a really rigorous process, we are excited to bring forward to you this evening Allison Wilson. She's actually here with us, seated next to Ms. Lovejoy this evening. And so Ms. Wilson received her bachelor's degree in elementary education with a minor in math from the University of New England, and went on to receive her master's in ed leadership from the University of Southern Maine. She has served as a 4th and 5th grade teacher. She has served as a math and literacy interventionist, all of those positions at Loranger Memorial School in Old Orchard Beach. From there, she became an assistant principal at Mitchell Primary School in Kittery for 3 years. And from there, she became the principal and has served as the principal at Mitchell Primary School for the last 7 years. So we are really excited to have Allison joining our leadership team on July 1st as principal of Eight Corners School. So Allison, I don't know if you would like to come up to the podium for a minute. I'm sure that the board would love to hear a few words from you.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you all. I'm very excited for this opportunity. It's something that it's sort of a full circle. I visited Eight Corners School about 16 years ago as a student at UNE. And so at the time, thought it was a really nice small school, something that I really a place that I would want to work in. However, I ended up in Old Orchard Beach where I did my student teaching and loved it there. Ended up getting my master's and applied for this job thinking, oh, maybe I'll get an interview. I'd only taught for 6 years. And then I got it, and it's been an amazing 10 years. I've loved working in Kittery, but I live up here, and so it's time to find a place where I belong up here, and I think that Eight Corners is that place. So I'm very excited.
Very good. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the Eight Corners Principal as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Looking forward to getting phone calls from you. Next couple of years.
Oh, nothing says welcome like I'm looking forward to getting phone calls from you.
Right.
Huh?
I love phone calls.
okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, can we call the vote?
Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Ms. Leon,
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Rockenstein,
Yes.
Ms. Tarpinian. Hands up, she's good. Mr. Peony Huff.
Yes.
All right, that shows unanimous. Thank you so much. Congratulations. All right, agenda item 10.3.2 is the middle school spring coach, new hire.
Yes, so that is just in your packet as presented, please.
Do I have a motion to goodness, do I have a motion to approve the middle school spring coaches as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? We call the vote?
Yes, Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Ms. Leon,
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Rockenstein,
Yes.
Ms. Turpinian. Hands up, Mr. Peony Huff.
Yes.
All right, that shows unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 10.4 is a Wentworth school donation.
Yes, so this evening in your packet, you'll see a letter from Mrs. Crosby, our principal at Wentworth, and I will just read it into the record for other folks. Dear Scarborough Board of Education, a Wentworth family who is asked to remain anonymous has provided consistent support for families in need at Wentworth School over the past few years. Recently, this family provided a substantial donation to support students and families experiencing financial hardship and housing insecurity. This anonymous donor has provided a donation of $1,000 to Wentworth School. This donation will be used to support immediate needs of students and families such as bedding, camping gear, outerwear, support for transitional housing, and more. We respectfully request that the school board approve acceptance of this very generous donation on behalf of Wentworth School with many thanks.
Do I have a motion to approve the Wentworth school donation as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Thank you so very much. This is very generous. Thank you. All right, can we call the vote?
Yes, Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Ms. Leon,
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Rockenstein,
Yes.
Ms. Turpinian, and Mr. Peony Huff.
Yes.
Well, it shows unanimous. Thank you. With no, agenda item 11.0 is adjournment. So with no objections, we will adjourn at 8:08 PM. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.